the speech that I wrote. I'm glad he brought up Malcolm X, because my speech is entitled The Ballad of the Bullet, which is a speech that Malcolm X spoke in 1964. It's called The Ballad of the Bullet, 2020, a white man's account of racism in America.
Come on, James.
I want to preface this speech with letting you all know, including the ones standing with me here today, who helped organize the event, that I was invited into this small circle of individuals who wanted to put together a march of solidarity in this community. It humbles me, and I'm truly honored that they would think of me as an ally and as a friend. Most of us went to school together and were within a couple of grades of each other right here in Person County. Our experiences here are unique, and their experiences are no doubt a little different from mine. My name is Jonathan Chance Sanford. If you can't tell already, I'm a white man. I'm here today to speak to you all about who I am. And in knowing a little more about me, you may come to understand why I believe in this cause and why I'm able to identify my own privileges, as well as the problem of systemic racism across this country. I was born October 21st, 1985 in New Bern, North Carolina. My father's family is from Person County, more precisely Triple Springs. My mother's family is from Granville County, in and around Berea and Oxford. We moved back to Person County in 1987, and I was raised here in Roxboro inside the city limits in an area some would call the South Side, the South, and more specifically Whittown, being that our house was on Whittown Road. It was and still is a quiet rural road over the hill and through the woods from Section 8 housing. Having grown up in that area, I went to elementary school starting in 2nd grade at South Elementary. South Elementary was then, and is still to this day, predominantly attended by minorities. At the time I went to school there, Duke Torrain was the principal there. Y'all might have known him. Duke Torrain was a black man. He was a strong black man. My mother, a strong white woman, worked in the office for Mr. Torrain and held him in high regard. Being an elementary school student whose mother worked in the office, I would often find any excuse to go see my mother. And I had many conversations with Mr. Torrain in his office about school, life, and personal responsibility. One day after school, I was summoned to the office of South Elementary School. Mr. Torrain confided in me that through our conversations and speaking with my mother, he knew that I was very smart for my age, a natural leader, and he needed my help. He started to ask me about different children who were in my class to protect their identities. I won't mention names, but right away I noticed the commonality in all these children in my class. They were all boys, they were all my age, and they were all black. You see, at South Elementary, the students there were prone to poverty. A majority of these children lived just across the street in Weatherly Heights and Brookstone Trailer Park. They were often from broken homes, which I could identify with, but they were at a significant disadvantage to me. At that time, the internet was really just becoming a thing. It wasn't available to every household yet. And I knew that I was lucky to not only have the internet at home, but just to have a computer was a big deal. My classmates saw computers at school. They were the bulky Apple IIs we learned how to play Oregon Trail and number munchers on. Y'all know about it? Not knowing it at the time, but looking back now, Duke Torrain had just given me my first lesson in white privilege. And maybe economic privilege as well. I never realized how good my childhood really was until I saw those who went without. Mr. Torrain asked me to mentor these boys in my class. He wanted me to befriend them, to help them, to try and guide them and help show them that they could attain the same things in life that anyone else could. I realize now that although it was indeed possible for them to attain just as much as I could in life, they would have to start miles behind where I was already in life. This task was assigned to me when I was in the 4th grade. I felt a duty to help my fellow classmates, who ultimately became some of my best friends in life. I started off by eating lunch with them in the cafeteria. Eating with people is by far the best way to find common ground and truly have a relationship with them. I would encourage you all to invite someone who is not the same skin color as you into your home and share a meal. Don't just be friendly with other races, befriend them. Share experiences with them. This is how we create bonds. This is how we close the gap and come together instead of allowing our differences to divide us.
That's right, Tim.
I think you will find that we're not so different. I wish I could tell you that my efforts have led to all of those boys becoming CEOs and productive members of society. But I think those of us who live in the real world know that some people start from a lower bottom than others. Some can work harder than the next and still end up worse off. Some people can walk down the street carrying a weapon openly, while for others, they will be considered an armed and dangerous person. And still to this day, black and brown people are disenfranchised, prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and live in existence fearful for their lives when faced with police interaction.
That's right.
This experience at South Elementary School in Roxboro was my first taste of, but would not be my last, of what I saw as racial inequality in this country. Over the years, when I've seen or thought about systemic racism and socioeconomics, I've often thought back to those days in school, how I witnessed so many who had so much less than I did, and how that conversation with Mr. Torrain and the experiences thereafter had such a profound effect on my life. Whenever I see these killings on the news, like the one we saw last week with George Floyd, a man born near Fayetteville, North Carolina, I think to myself, what did he do to deserve that? Did he resist? No. Did he fight the police? No. Did he have a gun? No. But really the answer to all those questions is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because if George Floyd was my shade of skin, he could have done all those things.
Speak, James.
And still be alive today. We've seen it numerous times in our society. In an Aurora, Colorado movie theater with James Holmes, who killed 12 people and injured 70.
Come on now.
With Jared Loeffner, who killed 6 people and wounded Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords permanently. And Dylan Storm Roof, who killed 9 black church members in Charleston, South Carolina, a place I called home, and lived at the time of the shooting. All taken alive without incident. How does that happen? Yet a man paying with a counterfeit $20 bill that was reported fake gets killed while laying handcuffed in a prone position right next to a police car. Is it bad training? Is it excessive use of force? Is it hate? These are all legitimate questions. But I'm going to break it down to its most basic form. Its most basic emotion. Fear. I decided to use my time today to not only tell you a little bit about my own experience with systemic racism and what I've observed and who I am and where I come from, but also to tell you how to fight back peacefully. You fight back with your mind. You do what you're doing right now. You commune, you pull together, you lift each other up, you register to vote, you run for office, you research who is running for office, you establish committees, you start nonprofits, you write grants, you become a police officer, you get your education, you stop drinking too much, you stop smoking too much, you make a promise to yourself to get better each day, you get involved any way you can by establishing your own systems and groups, or you infiltrate and if necessary, subvert the systemic problems that you see in your community. This is how you fight back. Don't let them tell you what you can and can't do. No one ever got anywhere asking for permission.
Hello?
Don't wait on the city council or county commissioners to vote on your swimming pool. Don't rest your hopes and dreams waiting on the people that you didn't vote for and don't have your best interest at heart to give you